My name is Sifu Boggy, and welcome to The Way of Conscious Mindfulness, a weekly podcast and Facebook Live show discussing spirituality and science, balancing it with health and well-being and mind, body and spirit with a Daoist twist. What is the Tao? The Tao means the way, the path, the balance. Now, surprise, surprise, we are not the normal talk show. Each week, each session, because now we do at least 2 a week, each session we have either a subject or a guest. Today we have a very cool guest, and our aim is to have an open discussion to help us all find new skills, new techniques to balance our very own personal Tao, way or path. So it's a really cool show today for many, many reasons, but one of them is that as we've done in the past, we've got a past guest from the YouTube side. When we did the YouTube shows, we've got a past guest who's now going to be a co-host. So I would like to, I just press this little button here. I would like to welcome Anne Josh onto the show as a co-host. Hello, Anne. How are you doing?
Hello. This is my favourite show to be interviewed on, so to be co-hosting is fabulous. I love this show. It's full of energy and it's funny and it's noisy and it's brilliant.
and that's just me.
I know.
And I've got a lightsaber. I love my props. I love my metaphors.
I should have brought some of mine here. I got some in reach. I'll hide the end of the kits and things, but
it's like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Always know where your lightsaber is. So always know where your Tao is. Always know where your Tai Chi Warhammer is as well. So, but anyway, enough of me. Enough of my little toys. So firstly, Anne, how are you doing? How are things been? How is the world of Anne Josh?
Yeah, it's great at the moment. Yeah, really, really, really nice. I'm going to Norway in a few weeks. I've just not long come back from Dubai, and I'm working on a new book. So yeah, I'm feeling really good. I've got a lot of energy as well right now, so I'm feeling good. Probably because I've got pots everywhere in my office of vitamins and things. Chris has said are good. So I just order up all this stuff. I just do what he says. I don't even argue, So our guest at the moment, who's so brilliant on health, I just take all these. I am bouncing with energy, actually.
And that is cool. That is a very good thing to be bouncing with, is energy. So yes. So we'll move on. So the show is about. He says that, and now he can't find the little link. In the show is The Way of Chris Milbank. Sorry, Chris. Funny enough, I've got a few stories about him, but that's probably for another time. I know him. But anyway, so Chris Milbank, the other bank. Welcome to the show. And the show is, the subtitle of the show is The Way of Surviving AIDS and HIV, which is a very interesting topic, because I remember it very well back in the 80s and 90s especially, and the fear mongering that they did on this, and it's. I'll put this out here now, and we can, maybe for later. But it's really interesting on AIDS and also cancer. Even to this day, in China, they do not call it. They do not have an epidemic on these so-called uncurable diseases. They do not have the same issues in China as they do here, and that was because I spent time there, and I sort of experienced these things. So we will talk about that later. But firstly, Chris, welcome to the show. Apologise for calling you a boxer, but welcome to the show.
It must be my muscles. They're more like that.
Yeah, and your voice is your pardon my terminology, Anne, but your balls have finally dropped because your tone of your voice is so much lower than it used to be, Chris. Obviously, Chris Eubank's got a very high voice. But anyway, I digress. I am sorry. I apologise.
As well.
Yeah, well, you're far more handsome as well. But anyway, I digress. So, Chris, I will ask the first question. My question that has enthralled some guests and scared the living pants off of others. So that question is, Chris, this is the show of The Way of Chris Milbank. What is your way? What is your Tao?
This one's a fairly easy one for me. I remember from quite early days, and especially the school days, to me it's just a cheeky rebel who wants to teach something different. Just going back from the school days, a new subject would come along and I'd put my hand up and the teacher would kind of roll their eyes and I'd say 3 questions first and you got to pass all 3 to keep me interested. First one, has it been useful in your own life? And if they said no, I'd climb out the window and leave the class. If they said yes, I'd be slightly interested. I'd say, how could this help me in your life and in my own life later on? And if they passed that, which they really did, then the third one would be, tell me how it has helped you in your own life. What have you done after learning the subject? Because to me, I wanted to know. I want to know if it was useful or not. And it opened up a lot of discussions, and it actually, in some cases, it did get better teaching because they then described how it was useful and got people motivated and interested, and there was a story to it, and most people like a story. So, a rebel. And that has kept me in good stead earlier on in my health, and later on with the AIDS and the HIV. That certainly put me in very, very good stead.
Cool. Yes. So yeah, and yeah, there is. So well, we said you were, in essence, you're a healer, and how did this all start for you? How did where did this begin? Where is the beginnings of? Yeah,
well, the beginning was really from the moment I was born. I was very, very ill. They thought I'd maybe live a few weeks, then a few months, and then they were surprised I made a year, but I wouldn't make the next year. And I was born with a lot of respiratory problems, severe asthma, lung inflammation, bronchial inflammation. I was in and out of hospital. They used to hang me upside down for an hour every day to drain my lungs. I was on over 20 different medications a day. And I was passing out 3-4 times a day and going unconscious with lack of breath. So eventually I had family changes, and my mum had died, and I moved and lived with my aunt, and she was clever and kind of looked at some natural methods and some things. And then my dad got remarried and I moved back with them. And then when that finished, I was getting real worse. And someone my dad knew said, hey, there's a healer. And I went to see a healer. And I'm sure it made differences, but I didn't notice. And they smoked a pipe, and that kind of made my breathing worse. So I went to see another one, and then one day somebody suggested an osteopath that did other things. And on the way over, it was in Hammersmith. We crossed Hammersmith Bridge, and as we were crossing, my hero, Doctor Who, John Pertwee, was there. And I waved, and he waved. And I saw what I always used to call the good doctor. I never called him doctor. I called him the good doctor. And I knew in that moment something special would happen. I was, 12, I think. And I just knew. I knew And I got there, and the osteopath asked me some questions, and did I have questions? And I said, do you smoke a pipe? And he said, no. I said, do what you like then. And he did the usual things. I had one leg longer than the other, and he pulled my head and my neck and cracked it, and all sorts of osteopathic tricks. And then he laid his hands down me without touching me from head to foot, and then back up again. And I fell into a deep sleep. And I was hyperactive, even though I couldn't really breathe much, and I was always on medications. I was always jittering and juttering like this, and I never really slept or anything. And I slept, and I saw him 6 times. And at night, at the age of 12, I would creep out of my bedroom window at 2 a.m. In fact, I was left hanging from the bedroom window as I got my sweatshirt caught on the window hook one night for about an hour. But I used to walk the width of the house, sit on the garden wall, walk the width of the house, and then eventually, after a few weeks, I could run the width of the house and then have a rest and run. And I did that until I could run 2 miles, and I ran 2 miles every night. I hid outside the back door of my house, and I heard my dad unbolt the doors first thing in the morning. He'd go up and have a shower. I'd creep in as if I'd been in bed all night. And anyway, I went for the trials for school sports day, and kind of everybody laughed. What's he doing? And I won the 1,500 meters.
Yeah, brilliant.
And because I hadn't told anyone, it was the rebel inside of me. You know, it was like, I just got to show them, you know, don't put me in a box. Don't class me as a write-off. I won't tell you in case I fail, but I'll surprise you all one day. And that was my motivation, to show them, you know, to show the system, to show that it's not all about Bendelins and puffers and steroids and, you know, whatever. There are other ways. And, you know, if you have some help and you then put the effort in yourself, then all sorts of things can happen. But, you know, I was growing into a teenager, and I kind of ruined it after a while. I did the surprising on everybody, and then I started, you know, rebelling a lot more. I was drinking, I was smoking, I was doing this and that. My asthma kind of went downhill. And then years later, working very hard, very stressed, bad breathing, I went to see a hypnotherapist, and I said, I want to be able to sleep at night as soon as my head hits the pillow, and she helped me with that. I wanted to stop smoking, and she helped me with that. And it was still a bit of a struggle, but it certainly helped. And she said, anything else? And I said, yes, I'm going on holiday. I want the bestest holiday of my life. And when I went with a girlfriend, and that really wasn't to be. But anyway, as soon as I got on the plane, I fell down laughing. I laughed all the way to the States. I got in a hire car, went down a one-way system the wrong way, missing all the roadwork signs, and the police stopped me, and I couldn't stop laughing. They couldn't stop laughing. 6 weeks of traveling around in that car, all we did was laugh. But the moment I got on the plane, on the way back, to me, that's the holiday ended. To me, a holiday starting is 1 foot on the plane, and 1 foot off is when it ends. And I had a row with her, and that was it. That was, you know, great. But we had the bestest holiday you could ever imagine.
You got what you asked for. You know,
yeah, I got what I asked for. So I thought, hey, you know, there's got to be something in all this, you know. So I went back to this lady and I said, teach me. And she gave me a weekend course. And of course, you know, I thought I knew it all in a weekend. And until I went off and studied a 4-year study of hypnotherapy, counseling and psychology, and with a lot of healing, and went through the works and trained in many energy techniques and healing techniques. And then with a passion, sort of research into alternative health on more the physical side as well. And so that's kind of my sort of beginning journey of how it all began. And and I was always creative. One of my lodgers in the house, she'd say, when I was practicing with the counselling and becoming a counsellor, she always used to say, I always know when you're working with the client because there's so much laughter coming from the room.
That's lovely.
I'm not sure counselling was supposed to be like that, but it was with Chris. And, if you can make someone laugh about a problem, then that's partly resolved there and then, eh? So,
indeed, yeah, very much so.
It was my theory. If they come in with their head between the towels and we can get them out laughing, that's an achievement. And in fact, it was the house I bought. My grandparents had rented this house. And when my grandfather died, my grandmother died before, I managed to buy the house off the owner. And it had a little plaque on the wall. The only day that one has wasted is the day that one has not laughed.
Perfect.
That became a sort of a principle in what I do with my cheekiness, the cheeky rebel.
Cheeky chappy, you cheeky chappy. You.
I try to do it with passion.
It's all good. I mean, in Buddhism, Taoism, you've got the me and my props again. You've got the old happy Buddha, and the whole point of that with the happy Buddha. There's lots of metaphors. They love their Chinese metaphors. He's got a big belly because he's full of physical vitality, chi. He's got big moves, or big chest because he's got his heart is open. He's full of and his smiley face, so he's full of jing. He's got his love and laughter. And he's got big earlobes. Not actually, mine are tiny compared to his earlobes. He's got big earlobes because he's full of Shen. He's full of spirit and understanding and wisdom. And the whole thing of the happy Buddha is that from that laughter is infectious. And I love spirituality and I love science. Hence, it's the title in the show or in the information of the show. And when you have science, medical science saying laughter increases the heart rate, it improves the immune system, happiness, and it's negativity and fear that's doing the opposite, then that these things that we did as kids, being a child and having fun and laughing, that's what keeps you young. That's what increases your immune system. That's what keeps you healthy. So, as my Sifis would say, keep doing what you're doing. I
had a mentor who I spent time with, a brilliant woman, Miss Mandy Langford, and she always said the saying, keep it simple. In fact, keep it simple, stupid. And when we think about it, we can try so many things, but miss out the obvious, taking a few calm, deep breaths and having a laugh, having a smile, finding the good in something bad, that can just make all the difference in the world. And all the supplements and all of the regimes and all of the diets, what are they without that?
Because it's that internal power, the internal power of the body, and that's why with food and nutrition is all really important, but your emotions, your mind is really important too. And in Daoist philosophy, they say you are the creator of your own reality. It's inside your head. You're the strongest creator, and then the further outside you get, you can become a stronger creator. But when I think back as a kid and people say, why does this always keep happening? Or they wake up and you see the movies where the person wakes up and hits their head and it goes from downhill from there. And it's that whole mindset. If you set that mindset on one path, a domino effect will build that up. So set your mindset on a positive path and the domino effect will carry that through. That's the whole point. But
I love the idea of, I forget who it was now, but somebody said a little while ago that It was their mother's funeral, so it was a really solemn occasion. And they said their mother loved to laugh, and they thought it was so solemn. So when they gave the vicar the notes and he was going to read out, they deliberately gave the wrong name for one of the brothers. So instead of saying John and Peter and Brian, they said John, Peter and Rupert or something. And of course, the three brothers started giggling because he realised what they did. And in the end, the whole funeral was the whole congregation, everybody, all the family members and friends were all just having a meltdown. And the vicar couldn't understand what was going on. But how wonderful that she loved to laugh, and they brought that laughter to a solemn occasion.
Yeah, very good. What a great idea.
It's so funny. Yeah, you can imagine them all just trying not to laugh, and the vicar looking confused. Poor chap, they didn't fill him in on it.
No.
You know,
oh well, what a shame. I think I'm known for being a smiley person and a silly person, and as a even with what I do, myself, healer, barefoot doctor, Dragon shaman, but one of the most powerful tools. I mean, even in martial arts, I've been a close protection officer for many years. One of my first martial defences is if somebody's being very aggressive in a big situation with lots of people that could be hostile, what's the first move I do? I kiss them on the lips. I've done that, and one of three things happens. It blows their mind, they run away, or a fight breaks out. Normally, it's the first two that happen. But the whole point is you want to diffuse something, do something with passion, do something funny, do something distraction.
I've got a perfect little story for this. I was in a grocery store out in the Canary Islands, and there was a huge guy, and he did look mean. And I was sort of in one of my sort of trancey moments as I looked across the store thinking, what is it I need? And my physical look was looking straight at this guy, but I was actually looking beyond him at the shelves. And he was with a girlfriend or wife or something. And he had an accent. I think he was from Northern Europe somewhere. But anyway, he ran at me and said, with a few swear words, "You looking at my wife or girlfriend," or something like that. And he threw his fist back for a punch. He was obviously on cocaine or something, and I could smell a bit of alcohol on him, or I did afterwards. And I said, "No, I'm not looking at your wife. I was gang raped and castrated when I was 10, so I couldn't even think that way." And he just stopped and went, oh, and his girlfriend come over and sort of said, I think this is the wrong chap or something. I don't know why, it was the first thing that came out of my head. But anyway, he apologised and whatever, and it saved me having a broken nose.
it definitely worked. You can't say that. It definitely worked. Yeah, that's cool. So, right. Anne, do you have a question first or anything?
Yeah, Chris. So did you always was your health always, you always had to be careful of it, even if you weren't always well behaved, because you sort of said you went off and had your party years. Did you always have to be careful of your health, like your whole life?
Very much so. I was in and out of hospital from the age of being born right up till sort of 18, really. Well, no, sorry, pardon me, up until about 12, 13 with the osteopath. And then I had a few years of really good health. And then it kind of went down a bit in sort of the partying years. And I would be taking the Ventolin, God knows how many times a day. I used to buy them privately rather than get prescription because I knew the doctors wouldn't have it. So that was me. So yeah, it was always a struggle. I remember for most of my life being on antibiotics and steroids, and I remember a period of my life going for fortnightly X-rays on the chest.
Wow, that is a lot.
So that's a lot of radiation as well. And, my original doctor, he retired and went on to another doctor. I remember feeling a bit better for a while, but it was all the new medications. It was the latest in steroids and the latest in antibiotics. And I did have a short period, but then that impacted longer term and created a lot of other problems. And, I will say today that without a doubt they kept me alive. But if I'd had maybe a bit of immediate medical response and knew what I did now, or my parents knew what I did now, with functional medicine, integrated medicine, medical doctors of naturopathy, I would have got a lot quicker, a lot sooner. But with the cranial osteopath, he corrected my spine, and of course we got all different nerve waves going off there, and the thoracic number 3 vertebrae is directly towards the lungs, and another one would be the diaphragm. And then, years later, I had many Bowen sessions, which kind of got the diaphragm moving. Obviously, it was moving, otherwise I wouldn't be alive, but I never felt it move. And then I had 26 Rolfing sessions, which completely changed my shape. My chest was like that, and it hardly had any width at all. And the Rolfing, bit by bit, he took photographs for the first 5 or 6 sessions and then did a slideshow. And I came out in tears because I was shocked at the difference he'd already made. Really, Rolfing, for those that don't know, is like, it's not, but the nearest thing to it is deep tissue massage with a Kango drill. They go in deep and hard, and they make real deep changes. And this guy, absolutely brilliant, world class, in my opinion, and the size of a rugby player as well. So he put his muscle in, and he used to tell me to scream if it got above a 7 out of 10 in pain. And one day he said, "You're not screaming." I said, "It's 54,307." But with the pain, there was a release at the same time. So it wasn't like, it was almost like pain and pleasure. But each time I got off the Rolfing table, I felt as though I had a new part of personality and character. And it just shows how much your body is involved in your whole psychology, your whole spiritualness. And I felt like, you remember Mr. Ben, the children's program? And every week he would go in and have try on a new costume, and then maybe it was a zookeeper, and he became a zookeeper that day, or a deep sea dive, he became that. I always wondered what my character was going to be when I left the Rolfing table, but I was always different.
Wow.
And so a massive learning curve, which kind of got me involved in working with body workers and doing the odd little trick myself and body work. So, very powerful for change.
I'm always nervous at deep tissue stuff because I had that done a couple of times. And they just hurt me, like put my neck out. Or, one, I ended up just bruised, and she bruised my breastplate. I felt like I had pain in my heart. I found some of them don't really know what they're doing, and they're more painful than they think. So it's finding, as you say, you found somebody brilliant there. I'd love to find somebody brilliant who's not going to hurt me too much. Like 5 out of 10 is enough for me.
Well, there's a lot that can be achieved with the lighter fascia work. So that's sort of the top layers. But there are several different layers of fascia. And the Ida Rolf that created the whole concept of Rolfing, she would say it's not the therapist's pain. Of course, if you go to the wrong person, it can be. But in Rolfing, they're probably trained. It is your own pain. That belongs to you. We're doing what some people cope with and some people can't. So depending on your needs. But of course, a very good rolfer would, go in at the level they think the person can cope with. And I always used to tell him to go in with a Kango drill and a steamroller and a whatever. And I'm an all or nothing person. So.
I'm trained. One of the names under my training is Barefoot Doctor, but under that, as a bit of a doctor, I'm trained in Tweenar, which is the easiest way to explain it is saying Chinese massage, but it goes much deeper. So you have rolfing techniques in there, you have shiatsu techniques in there, you've got acupressure, you've got light massage to deep massage, and the whole thing of pain is that, you know, tension within muscles and pain within the body is trauma. It is, you know, built up energy from past traumas, past situations. So somebody says, oh, you know, oh, my shoulders are stiff and achy, and, you know, in the Eastern concept, aching shoulders is the tension, is Atlas, is the world is on your shoulders. You've got a build up of day-to-day tension. The tension within your neck is the connection between what you can believe and what you can achieve. So a lot of people in the Eastern belief of it, that your pain and tension in your neck is indicating you've got so much work to do and you're struggling to do it all, and that's now building up into that energy, that vibration builds up into a physical reaction, which is tension and pain within the neck and, you know, in the lower back and everything. So in the Eastern concept and in rolfing, it means something. Pain means something. When, you know, that hurts there, it has an indication that it is, in essence, using Western words, it's built up trauma, you know, built up energy. So it's this interesting thing of, you know, and I think the practitioner you had of the rolfing, also, if you know how to, if you can heal somebody, my teacher used to say, my Sifu was, before you can learn to kill, you must learn to heal. So I learned all the healing techniques and in like acupressure and acupuncture. On the flip side of that, in a war, it's demark, it's nerve strikes. And the whole point is that you can, if you can do things right, you can bring people up to a level of pain. And like you said about this whole pleasure, the pain and pleasure, you can bring people up, release that trauma to a level that they would not normally be able to cope with, but because you're relaxing the system at the same time, it can release those toxins. But as any good Daoist would say, hey, what do I know?
You know, I sometimes finish on that line too.
It's very much a Winnie the Pooh in Taoism. There was a Daoist called Benjamin Hoff, a Western philosopher who practiced Taoism, and he used the Tao, the way of Winnie the Pooh, saying that, you know, like Winnie the Pooh seems so simple, but yet he has all these adventures because he just goes into things. He's an empty cup. You know, hey, what do I know? And that's the thing, is that however much, you know, never take, as my Stevie would say, never take yourself or anybody else too seriously. Mm-hmm. It is good to laugh. You know, we're talking about serious stuff, but it is good to laugh. It's good to, keep open mind. Now we've got it's not so much a question. We got, let's see if I can bring it up. Yeah, it's so Brian Herman. I don't know if anybody knows Brian. A shaped tailbone to my problem, or his problem is he has a shaped tailbone. So just obviously that his back issue. Finding a good back practitioner, finding a good. It took me over when my Sifu, because like I said, he was a Tweenar expert, which is an osteopath, another massage is all wrapped into one. It took me years. It took me years to find somebody I know who is holistically good. So Fred Bleach, which will be a future guest. Has been a guest in the past and will be a guest again. He's definitely a very good backman. So it's trying to find somebody who understands everything holistically, I think. And that's, I think, with the rolfing as well. It's the whole approach. It's not just the, focusing on one certain thing. It's the whole approach. But anyway, we digress.
Yeah. Cranial osteopaths that have that extra few years of training, and they work a lot with the light pressure as well, and very gentle. And then sometimes if that doesn't do the trick, you can go to an advanced biostructural correction therapist who learns to untwist spine the meninges that go around the spine, actually untwist that. That can be very useful. But saying that, on emotional work, I've had people focus on their spines, and I've released emotions, and I've many a time, and it also happened to myself doing it, where you get the whole spine sort of shaking and changing, and you get a change of shape in the back. So, you know, I definitely look at those three areas as good possibilities.
Yeah, any when you release energy in Chinese, it's Fajing, the explosive power. So Fajing down the spine, that release of, they also know it's the spinal wave, or this Qigong energy exercises that teach you to, you know, actually keep your spine fluid, because, another prop. Because your spine should be a little bit like this snake. It should actually be able, you know, you should be able to actually move virtually every vertebrae. But most people in the modern world, half of that is stiff, if not most of that is stiff. And, you know, they have vertebrae seized, or the muscles of obviously locking those vertebrae in place. And this is the point. As a barefoot doctor, you teach somebody exercises, so Qigongs or Neigung, which is Daoist yoga, it's Chinese yoga, and that helps loosen it up. But then also, as a practitioner, you physically do it as well, but you need to do it yourself. You know, that's the Daoist approach. It's a whole body thing. It should be healing yourself and somebody healing you as well. It shouldn't be one or the other.
Very good.
Hey,
very good.
What do I know?
One of the philosophies I teach is that we heal others to heal ourselves. Often, many of us have been in pain, who have been in the therapy healing world, and have gone out there to help others with pain, because when we think of them in pain, it hurts us. And so we then can do a opposite treatment, where we heal ourselves to heal them, and we heal them to heal ourselves. And that way we get a great energy exchange, and you get a better connection. You can understand, pick up people's thoughts and feelings, and they can you. And that works very, very well.
Perfect.
So
let me ask. So I was just going to ask, so Chris, coming to the sort of like the main subject, really. I suppose what I would ask you, I just feel there's a lot of people out there. I don't really know. I'm very ignorant of this subject, so I don't know the difference between AIDS and HIV and everything else. The only thing I know is Louise Hay always said, put it in small letters. Don't give it any importance. By putting it in capital letters, you keep making it far more important and giving it power. It's always right, AIDS and HIV in small letters. But I don't actually know the difference, so I'm a bit ignorant of this. But I suppose what I feel is there's a lot of people out there with one or the other or both, and they don't know what to do, and they're probably a bit scared, you know, and I would be. I'd be scared, and I wouldn't know what to do, and I wouldn't know who to believe. And it's a subject you've massively researched, and I remember you, and you were ill. I saw pictures of you, and I gasped. I mean, it was shocking. I just thought, God, he hasn't got long. That's how it looked. And to see now you're bouncing about all over the place, and, you know, how healthy you are now. I just think, have you got any advice for people?
Yeah, I mean, one of the first things is that people believe the concept that the medical world tell you, and that it's a virus, HIV, they say is a virus, and this virus will eat up all your CD4 immune cells in time, so your immune system is so suppressed, so weak that it can't fight infection, and then people who die of AIDS will die of the AIDS infections. Often it's pneumonia or TB, but it can be many. I mean, I had 14 major AIDS infections. And you've got to be on antiretrovirals in the first place. But my immediate thought is, you know, well, look, it's not a lack of antiretroviral pills that got me ill. They say it's transmitted, but you know, there's a big question about whether actual HIV really does cause AIDS. You know, in the original studies, over 50% of the people that had AIDS didn't have the HIV virus. So, I mean, it kind of makes a nonsense. And I could talk for hours on the whole subject. But what I would first of all say is go and research. Look at Professor Peter Duesberg, Duesberg, one of the top microbiologists in the world, was most recognized. And you can see it on YouTube. You can look him up, and he does an hour lecture of why HIV isn't AIDS and what is likely to be the cause of AIDS. And when I worked with experts more like him who thought out of the box, that weren't trying to sell a drug or a vaccine or keeping your medications for life, great for business, keep someone alive so they can, have more drugs and be paid for by the taxpayers. But don't get them so well that they're cured, because they won't be a customer anymore. So, it's in a way, it's kind of follow the money. Who's going to win from all this? So I immediately work with the infections. I work with them all naturally. I looked at independent research on ozone therapy, which is one of the best of them all. It rebalances the immune system, whether it's in autoimmune, where the immune system's overly going, at you, or it's suppressed, like in AIDS or cancer or many other diseases. And it rebalances that, but it also kills or inactivates virus, it kills bacteria, fungus, other pathogens in your body very quickly in contact. But why are they there? They're there because some people are born very toxic. Some people have poor detoxification pathways genetically. When the mother is pregnant, she passes 10 times the amount of toxins out through her blood than she would when she's not pregnant. And so that gets passed on. And then you may have been brought up on, having a few vaccines and they disturb the immune system. You may have had some junk food. I worked 20 odd years in the motor industry with car fumes going everywhere, serving gasoline as well and getting all the lead inside of me. And these pathogens, they thrive on the toxicity. They use heavy metals like mercury from the fillings to protect themselves. They create a mucus and they put the metal in. It protects them from the immune system. But the body then allows, because mercury is the most toxic substance on Earth, other than something that's a radiator like plutonium or uranium. So it's so toxic to the cells, it destroys them, including the immune cells. And it creates inflammation. It further throws the immune system out. So the body allows a fungus that we all have inside of us called Candida to excessively grow. The Candida is what, when we die, will eat us up, so that we're not, whole bodies rotting everywhere. It eats us up. But it starts growing and growing and growing, and it will absorb 3 to 4 times its own weight in mercury and lead and other toxicity. So my real thought on how AIDS comes is about suppression of the immune system. We can look at the party gay world, where they're out all night, clubbing, drinking, smoking, taking the amyl nitrate or poppers, which crashes the immune system quicker than anything. Cocaine. We could be looking in Africa, where the sanitation is toxic because it's poor sanitation, but often poor nutrition. That will cause the immune system to crash. And, the research shows that the HIV virus only gets inside 1 in every 100 T cell in the body. So how can this be the virus that wipes out all the T cells? What we do know is mercury, lead, other toxins, benzene, they destroy T cells and throw the immune system out of balance. So, you've got to be brave. You've got to regularly look at the people, the experts who argue differently from the medical doctor. And you've got to decide. Now, who knows? You're not an expert on either, but it can bring a bit of peace of mind. And if you take an alternative route, I would suggest that you read up about it 2 or 3 times a week to get your mind focused on what you're hoping will happen. If the mind's got a path, the body will often follow. And you've got to ask questions. People don't get a headache because of a lack of paracetamol in their body. It could be too much alcohol, it could be too much coffee, it could be too much stress, but it's not a lack of paracetamol.
I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah, indeed. And there's you brought up that interesting fact, which a lot of people misunderstood. I mean, where in England, I mean, all of us are UK residents, and in England, it was 20 years ago now that we joined the European Union, and they changed the medical profession. It was the whole point of that there wasn't enough people being healed, so they changed the goalposts. They changed it to I'm going to forget the terminology now, but basically it was the aim of the medical profession was to maintain symptomology. So that's a posh way of saying get rid of the pain. Now, getting rid of the pain is a lot easier than actually curing somebody or actually solving the situation. It's like having, like your house is burning and the fire alarm is going off. It's a lot easier to turn off the fire alarm than it is to stop the house from burning down. And that's where we've got, and in the medical profession, or industry, pharmaceutical companies, a lot, as you said, a lot of the time it's about maintaining the illness, not actually resolving the situation. And that's what people don't understand. That's where, the whole thing of holistic healing and these different therapies.
It's a fantastic business model. And, they're in business. They're in business.
A new illness every year. Every year there's pig flu or this flu or something. We're all supposed to go off and get whacked up with some drug or other. I don't know what's in that. But every year and it's going to wipe out everybody, and it doesn't. Well, every year I go, nothing will
just happen. Recently, this massive big scare about Ebola. Yeah. Medical doctor Robert Rowan with medical doctor Howard Robbins, who use ozone therapy, which is oxygen, but with an extra oxygen molecule. On average, completely eradicate the Ebola in anybody on 3 ozone treatments.
Wow.
It costs next to nothing to administer. There is no money to be made in ozone. Now, it's been used for about 100 years now, just over. So some countries, before the pharmaceuticals got too big and the government allowed corporations to basically sponsor them and then pass the relative laws. But some countries were using it earlier on. And still today in Germany, over 70% of medical doctors use ozone therapy, and they have the lowest hospital infection rates in the world. They do pre and post ozone for every operation. India, it's used. In Cuba, Castro, they gave $1 million into research. They're doing all sorts of things, macular, degeneration, to, AIDS, working with cancers. And the worst you'll get with cancer if you're doing ozone treatments is you'll get you won't suffer in the same way that somebody would on the medical route, and you'll live longer. Doesn't always cure. There's a number of other things you do as well. I mean, strict diet changes, and, that kind of thing. But, ozone's right up there. It's great for circulation, blood pressure, and it costs pence to administer.
Wow, I'm going to try this because I know you've used it near to me, haven't you, out Slough Way?
Yeah, well, I learned a lot from the clinic, and I'd always been interested. I've got my own system now set up at home, and it's so easy to do, and it's ridiculous. Once it's set up, I had a few technical problems with setting up a regulator and whatever, but if you ever get one, I'll come around and set it up for you. I'll show you what I've done.
Brilliant.
And, the whole, turning the gas on and the ozone machine on, and we put the ozone gas into a bag, and then we use a little sort of a catheter hose that's so tiny, it's like a third of the breadth of your little finger, and that you just insert that into the rectum, And first of all, that cleans all of the colon. They say death starts in the colon. It gets oxygen through the colon wall into the liver, so it kills all the pathogens in the liver, helps it detoxify, gets rid of plastics in the body and benzenes and so forth, and it goes from the liver straight into the blood. So it's now purifying all the blood. All the pathogens are in the blood.
Wow.
And it means the ozone will get into the cells, so it increases cellular uptake. Now, there are oxygen treatments where you get more oxygen going around the body, and that's really good. But that creates new pathways for the oxygen to go. But you really then need the ozone for those parts of the body to be able to actually absorb the oxygen. And oxygen's the number one nutrient. We can go without water for a few days. We'll go a minute without, oxygen, and that's it. And a lot of people with chronic fatigue, and ME and what have you, well, the ozone goes straight into the mitochondria. And which in every cell there's mitochondria, which are the energy productions of ATP. That is the main human energy source, and it whooshes it, and it upregulates the detoxification pathways. You get a lot of oxidation come in, and the body goes, "Oh, it needs antioxidants now," to calm it all down, and it shoves that, and you increase the production of antioxidants in the body as well. And part of the human immune system is actually hydrogen peroxide. Some of the immune cells actually inject hydrogen peroxide into viruses and bacteria, and the ozone increases the body's ability to do that as well. So,
wow. I use the hyperbolic chamber now and again with the ladies in Slough, and that makes you feel brand new. The hyperbolic chamber, that is just, so I know about the I know that bit about the oxygen.
I will be going there to try that out. I can believe
it's
me.
Bliss, and it blisses out your mind. I mean, forget drugs, just get in that chamber, because your mind is bliss. It's fabulous.
Yeah.
I've done the old deep freeze as well, like the cryo chambers or the ice chambers, going down to minus. I've done it the Shaolin way, which is in the winter in China, going into a lake, going in an area that's minus 22, then going in the lake, but it draws out all the toxins.
And the breath, I should imagine.
Yeah. Well, there's a fun old story. I'll quickly say that there's a fun old story where I was with the Daoist monks and the Shaolin monks in China next to a lake, minus 22. They taught me this technique. You guys heard of Wim Hof?
So yes, I have. Remind me.
Well, Wim Hof does. There is in the Taoism and Buddhism, it's called the fire way or fire breathing. But he does a breathing system that basically increases the body temperature, increases the blood flow, so he can easily sit in minus weather or swim in a freezing lake, and he maintains his body temperature. But it also increases the T cells, it clears out the toxins from the body, and it's a big thing that he promotes, Wim Hof. But like I say, I've learned the Eastern way, what they call is fire breathing. And what they do in near Wudang, which is a place in China, they have a big mountain in China, a big Daoist sort of mountain, and other places near the temples, the two main Shaolin temples. They'll sit there naked or hardly anything on, and they'll get they'll put a towel into the lake, and this wet towel they'll then put on you. And the aim is for you to increase your body temp, is to do these breathing techniques that increases your body temp, so you dry the towel in essence.
Wow.
And so I sat there 45 minutes with this wet towel on my back, and eventually I almost got it dry. I'm pretty impressed with myself. The 2 months either side, they've had about nine towels since I've done one, and their steam's just coming off them, and they go,
wow.
okay, Boggy, back to the drawing board. You're not, you haven't learned this technique yet. But yeah, it's a very, and I mean, obviously Russia, they love their saunas, going from hot to cold, and it's this way of releasing it. makes the body release toxins in a, you could say, an aggressive manner, but it does flush out the body of toxins. They're very much into clogenic. Sorry, my stomach's kicking in. Colonic irrigation is a big thing, obviously, in China and in Russia as well. I mean, nature does it, so they always say follow the flow of nature. But yes, these sort of things are a really vital thing. I think in modern society, I think we've lost the art of clearing out. We think of spring cleaning for the home, and you clean out the rubbish and do the dusting, but we don't seem to think about doing that for the body, which is, I think it's our society that's sort of forgotten this, and it's a thing that we need to get back to. Now, very quickly, there's Nora Baker. I'll put that on the screen. Nora Baker has said, what would you say is the emotional cause behind autoimmune conditions?
Oh, good question.
I don't know if there is a set one. What you can do, I have a blog. If you look me up on the internet, you'll find my website, Chris Milbank. And on there is something called the brain stare. And what you can do is you can think about the autoimmune condition or any health condition, and just notice where your eyes go when you really access the thought and or feeling about the health condition. And then hold your eyes there. Hold it for 5-10 minutes, and then your thoughts will start to flow. And often the emotions come up, and it can be really intense. You just got to keep your eyes on one spot. You might notice where your eyes are, and you can see a spot on the wall, or you could be lying on the bed, a spot on the ceiling. You hold your eyes there, and you hold your eyes there, and you hold your eyes there. And this can go on for 20 minutes, half an hour, even over an hour. But that spot where your eyes are looking locates a spot in the brain where the brain is holding the stress of that health condition. And it will unleash, and sometimes your teeth will go, or your eyes will go open, shut, open, shut. Sometimes, arms. I was just doing it with somebody the other day, and their arm was kicking out. Other people's pelvises jump up off the bed. Their legs kick, and it's the connection between the brain and the entire nervous system where they hold that stress, and you can unleash that. So rather than going to a book and saying, "Oh, it's that pattern or this pattern," this is a way of going to the unconscious mind and finding what that person's unique pattern is. And I find that a great way, because we can guess and guess. We can go through all the traumas that happened in the previous 5 years to the illness. We can look at past lives. We can think of the obvious, but it's too much guesswork. This is straight in there. It's how the brain, the unconscious mind, stores it all, and it opens the gate. Now, it can be intense. So if you're a fragile mind or nervous or anxious, do this with someone. And call the therapist. But equally, when I wrote this blog out, within 3 months, 3 different people wrote to me I'd never heard of before, just from wherever. 148,000 people read it in 3 months. It just went kind of viral. And 3 people wrote to me and said it saved their life because they had laid out everything for suicide and come across that blog in the last moment. So that's how powerful it is. And, and it doesn't cost anything. Just repeat the technique again for the views. Yeah, you can do it on anything. You can do it on relationships and all sorts of things. But, somebody says, oh, yeah, my bad knee, and their eye goes over there. It's wherever you find your eyes going. And then all you do is move your eyes slowly, little bit by little bit, back, forth, up and down, and just find a spot where you can access either the thought. Some people get images, other people get feelings. Some people it's images and feelings or internal voice, where you feel it most intense. You might even feel the health condition coming on. You might feel the emotions you get. And you just stay with it and don't question whether you're doing it right. You are doing it right. People overcomplicate it. They really do. And you just hold your eyes, nothing else. You don't move your head. You just hold your eyes and you stare at that spot, and it can take 5 or 10 minutes for your mind just to calm down. You know that, am I doing it right? Yes, you are. Tell your voice to shut up. Just go, yeah, and then go back to that spot. And then look, and then little memories will start coming out. And often memories come up that you've forgotten about or didn't ever know that have been stored away. And they can flood through. Other people get more physical stuff going on. Some people get emotional stuff. And there are many people that get the whole combo. And it can be intense. And what I say is, if it's intense, you will know, because I'm telling you, it will calm. Stay with it. You know, if it's really that intense, you know, move your eyes about, look away, you know, put something funny on and then go back to it another time or with someone. But if you can bear it, stay with it, because all of a sudden it goes shh. And when it has calmed, still stare on the spot, because you might get the next wave or the next wave. And when you think you're done and there's no more waves, have a rest. If you're up for it, think about it and move your eyes. You might be some other spot in the brain that the trauma or the anxiety or the emotional issues is also stored. But generally you find one big one, and then you can do little tidy up ones. Sometimes they don't appear at all.
I've heard that technique before, not called that, but I've had that technique, because all great techniques can be found all over the world with different names. That's the whole point. So that's a really good technique. So Nora has also said, which particular blog title, please? So what was the blog title for that on your...
Brain Stare, Chris Milbank.
Right, and it will be on your website, which is www. I forgot the dots, but don't forget the dots after the W's. www.chrismilbank.com. Actually, because Chris actually said, just type in Chris Milbank, and it does come up. You know, I was thinking, what are you talking about, Chris? You know, what is it? .com, .uk, dot in my ear roll. No, just type in Chris Eubank. Chris Milbank, not Eubank.
Do you know what? Talking about the wrong names of that, my dad would always say, you know, there's only one good bank, and that's a Milbank.
I love it.
Because I mean, everybody knows me as Boggy, Seafood Boggy, but my real name is actually Brighton. So so it's the same. I love when I teach actually in Hove a Qigong Reiki, and I go and I always say, I'm Paul Brighton. And they go, what, who? And it's like, you know, so you're the bank and I'm the Brighton. So Brighton Bank. Is the
Bank of Brighton.
Bank of Brighton. Because I always wanted, I used to do it back in the 90s. I did a Tai Chi class in Brighton, and I said Brighton on the Chi. So as in Tai Chi, and my name being Brighton, Brighton. So Brighton. Nice. And one day I'll go back there and I'll do it again. I always thought, you know, I love stuff like that. But anyway, so let's just have a quick look to see if there's any more messages. It was which particular blog, and we said you'll find it on your website. So we'll start to wrap up. So Anne, have you got any more questions? Anything else for Chris?
You know, I'd like to do this again because I've got loads of things I want to ask Chris, because his knowledge is huge, you know, and I'm going to go and find out where he lives. He lives on some gorgeous island somewhere, and I'm going to sit outside his house, and every time he comes out, I'm going to ask him a question, you know. Millions of questions. He'll be whining, Chris, can you?
I'll come up and see you sometime, man. If you ever have a moment. I know how busy you are.
But sometimes you're up the road from me. So when you visit the girls in Slough, I can pop over or go for lunch or dinner or something. Because I've got millions of questions, but I want to look into this ozone, because this looks really, really interesting. Chris has actually given a family member of mine a lot of health who never listens to anyone, but he's doing everything you told him to. That's never happened before. It's actually my ex, don't tell anyone. He's never listened to anyone, ever. And he's doing everything you said because he's been very poorly. So what questions have I got for you? So I suppose what I'd want to know is what's the way forward for you now? I mean, I saw how ill you were and it was shocking. And you're really on form. I mean, you can run, you can play football, you can dance a jig. So what's the way forward for you?
It's interesting at the moment. I'm still carrying on with certain detoxification and oxygenation treatments for the next few months. My goal is that it would be impossible to ever get AIDS again. You know, it's cured, It's gone. All the other problems, the autoimmune diseases, the arthritis, the osteoarthritis, the rheumatoid arthritis that I had, the Morton's neuromas, the various different viruses, bacterial infections, the sepsis, all gone. But to me, that isn't good enough. I don't want ever to be in that position again. I want to be that, if I was unlucky enough to, be around something or someone that could trigger that, then it just couldn't happen to me. And I think that is not only highly possible, I'd say it's 100% possible, and that's what I'm going to do.
That is incredible, isn't it? You say that, you won't. We're both trying not to giggle here because Nora's put up, and you were and are a very good skater too. So we're trying not to giggle as we're talking about such a serious subject. But apparently you're a good skater.
Are you no? Well,
I'm a terrible skater.
Okay. No, she's talking about me then. I'm actually an ice hockey. I was former ice hockey player. I mean, you guys will. I mean, especially if in England. I went to Richmond Ice Rink. That's long gone now, doesn't exist. But I started off just general skating, and I fancied a figure skater. So I thought, how do I chat up a figure skater? I know, I'll learn figure skating. So I started to learn figure skating from Betty Turner, who was the instructor for Torval and Dean. So I actually learned figure skating from the person who taught Torval and Dean.
Boggy, the things men do when they like a girl, eh?
Indeed. But it's one of these things. As you know, I'm all about the Taoism, I'm all about the way, and the Daoist philosophy, the Shaolin philosophy, and the Samurai philosophy is everything you learn enhances everything else you do. So from ice skating, that actually improved my martial arts, and it improved. It was also for me with ice skating, it was about the flow of energy. Learning to flow with that energy, and also ice skating is very good in healing or in understanding yourself, because if you're stiff and rigid on the ice will reflect that, and if you fall over, it will hurt, and or you'll move all jerkily. But if you relax and go with the flow, your ice skating gets better as well. And so yes. So thank you, Nora. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes. Is this one?
Just sort of say, we talked about health, and you can get shocks from the doctors and the health system, and you can be told you got a condition, and the saying, and you can have this in mind as you look at your medical doctor. I mean, they're trained by universities that are funded by the pharmaceuticals, and all the research is done by the pharmaceuticals. So by all means, listen to their advice. That's a good idea. And take what knowledge they have. But remember, experts know more and more about less and less. So they only know that field. They don't know another field. As I was getting well, there was nothing in the script to say. They couldn't say it. They kept saying, take drugs. And I kept saying, no. And they had nowhere else to go for me. They couldn't say anything. There was no. But also, in all bad, you will find good. And when I'd been seriously ill for 3 months out in the islands and wasn't sort of diagnosed. I was told I had salmonella typhi and I was in a rotten way. But I presumed I had because that's what the blood test showed. And I didn't have the alternatives over there that I did in the UK. But hey, when I got the diagnosis through on a text, it was the evening I'd arrived in England. I'd done some alternatives. I'd done some chlorine dioxide, otherwise I would have been dead. And it was enough to get me wheelchaired on the plane and carried out. But when the diagnosis came through, I was at a friend's house and I went, look, and he went, oh, I don't know what to say. And I said, well, this is a challenge, with a smile on my face, because I looked for the good in it. Yeah. And then somebody else close to me said, well, don't tell everyone, don't put it out on Facebook, keep it quiet. And I thought, well, that's what people do when they don't get well. I'm going to do the opposite. So I immediately put out there, this is what I've got, and I'm not going to let any of you down. I'm going to beat it. And then every time I felt like waving a white flag and giving up, because I was obviously extremely ill and in extreme pain, I think of the people that I promised. Because if somebody who has an experience in an alternative world and preaches a lot but can't actually walk the talk, then it's going to be disappointing for a lot of people, huh? And so every time I thought of, and I got huge support and many, many people out there who were giving me messages and giving me hope. And we went to laughter earlier. And the times when I felt really down and I was just, any energy I had, I was putting into treatment. We'll cover that maybe another time, but the amount I did. When I felt really down at the lowest of the low, I thought of all those people I promised. And if that didn't quite get there, I'd stick on something that would make me laugh. And it was Tommy Cooper. And I remember one day I laughed. I didn't have the breath for Tommy Cooper to laugh. And I fell out of bed and didn't I half scream in pain? But I fell out of bed and I was on the floor. And even though I was screaming, I was still laughing. And, so Tommy Cooper, you came to me and you helped me, But hey, laughter, it's simple. It costs nothing. The doctor is frightening you. They want you as a customer for life. The doctor gets paid for prescribing so many drugs. The surgeons get big money for every operation they do. Think about it. You're part of a system, but there's things that you can do and they don't have to cost money. And it's opening your beliefs, research. I didn't get this illness because I had a lack of the drugs. That doctor is an expert who's know more and more about less and less. What's the cause, doctor? When they say they don't know or it's just an age thing, hey, it's not just an age thing. Otherwise, everybody in the planet that was that age would have that same condition. And so think out of the box.
Yeah, that's a point. Yeah, that's a really good point. That's amazing.
Yeah, and laugh.
and that shows, and it's very, very good. Right, very quick question because I need to wrap up. Because we will do another show. Well, I hope Chris would like to come back and do another show because this is what and this is one of those. In the past, we used to do 2-hour shows and 3-hour shows, and this is one of those where the hour is just flown by, and we haven't even touched on the subject. So definitely, Chris, I would love you back in the future. But very, very quickly, Nora's got one more question. She says, does the ozone therapy help with cervical compression?
I don't know of any specific treatment outcomes. I've not researched that one on ozone, so I'll be honest there. But ozone goes to every cell, and we're made out of 1 trillion cells. Ozone is the main nutrient. It increases the ATP energy production. So if an area or an organ or a gland of the body or a system of the body is damaged or not working effectively, it is made up of cells. Get the oxygen to it. All I can say is I'm sure it would help on some level, whether it would be the full thing or not. You might have to look at some structural work. You may have to look at inflammation, going to an anti-inflammatory diet. probably best to contact one of the medical doctors that do ozone, and find out and see what they've got to say, and maybe talk to a doctor of naturopathy. It's not a medical route as far as I wouldn't be really going down that route, but you can ask them, get advice, for sure. But, certainly I don't know of a condition that it can't help with at some level.
Yeah, I would definitely think it will definitely be an advantage. It may not, be able to directly affect it totally, but I would definitely, think it would.
It's most anti-aging treatment there is as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Right. Unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap up because we've got another show at 7:30, and I'm going to get ready for that one next with Chris. See, I'm doing it again. Chris Graham. It's no Graham Cox. I've only known him 15 years, and I'm now calling him Chris Gaines. You've got Chris Milbank and Chris Graham. And breathe. So yes, Chris, we will. I will give you the dates for August. If you're about in August, it'd be great to have you back on again, and and I'll let you know what he chooses. I think this is at least a part 2, if not maybe a part 3, if we're only doing an hour.
Yeah,
so I would love to have you back on the show again, and we can delve in this a little bit more, and I can call you Chris you back again, and we can have a good laugh.
Thank you so much, both of you. It's been wonderful. I love the way you gel, and the energy of the great questions and the fun of it, and it's a conversation. Beautiful.
Yes, I love this show. I absolutely love it. It's my favourite. Absolutely. Agent 37 there, Paul Boggy. It is another story. I'll tell you about Agent 37 another day. But I love this show. We have so much fun, and it's so enlightening.
Yeah. And please stop talking. I've run out of money. I can't afford to give you any more.
When you throw the hammer down, do I go?
Yeah, right. Boggy throws the hammer. The hammer of Tai Chi. It would help if I can get it in the screen. But anyway, and always know where your lightsaber is. Right, so I'd like to say, Chris, it's been an awesome show. Thank you so much. I'd like to say I will send you. I'd love to get you on in August because we're full.
I'd love to.
We're full all the way to August, so I'd love to get you back on. And you've been initiated into the Way of Conscious Mindfulness co-hosts. I've had you on the show twice, and now you're a co-host, and you're freaking awesome. And I'd love to have you as a co-host in the future. So again, I will send you the links, and I'll let you know when Chris is on. Guys out there, I hope you enjoy the show. It's been a really interesting conversation. It reminded me of lots of stuff I should do, and it's been really good. So, guys out there, take care. If you're still about, if you stay on the Way of Conscious Mindfulness, in less than just over 10 minutes, the next show with Graham Cox, not Chris Graham, Graham Cox will be about crystals. But also, one of my favourite subjects is Chinese metaphysics, which he'll explain. So, guys out there, take care. You two just hold on. Guys out there, take care. I hope you enjoyed the show. Until next time, there is another show at past, and there will also be a show with Kirk Kerber, who is on Sunday at 7:30, and Kirk Kerber does tarot, and he's also a shaman in America. So there will be that show. Have a look at the shows. Also, if you want to join the Way of Learning, which is the Way of Conscious Mindfulness group, these lovely guys are on there, and they will send you stuff. They can freely post stuff on there about what they're doing, and other past guests and future guests can also share information, and you can ask questions, and I'll breathe before I turn blue. So breathe for your ears, Boggy, breathe for your ears. So I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you so much. It was, thank you so much, Anne. Loved having you back on the show, especially as a co-host. Thank you so much, Chris. Everybody else, take care. Bye for now.